Under ancient stars, a tribe huddles around a small, flickering fire, and the vast darkness beyond becomes the first them. Inside that fragile circle of light lives safety, kinship, and trust. Outside, it waits the unknown, the feared.
In that primal division, the blueprint of tribalism was drawn. An us huddled in the light, and a them cast out into the dark. As ages passed, our campfires swelled into cities, and our simple fears into complex ideologies. Yet the invisible line between us and them only grew more entrenched. Beneath our civilized surface, the tribal drum still beats. We hear it in politics that split societies into camps, in religions that paint some as chosen and others as heretics, in sports stadiums where rival fans roar as if a game were war. Every day we draw lines in ordinary places, classrooms, offices, neighborhoods, often without even noticing we've taken a side. You might think you're above this primal instinct, but none of us truly are. It's in the quiet thrill when your side wins an argument or election, and the flash of disdain when you hear the other side speak. That us versus them pulse lives in each of us, hidden behind civility until something presses that ancient trigger. For all our sophistication, we remain tribal creatures at our core. This instinct once protected us, and now it poisons our unity. Why did evolution etch us versus them into our minds so deeply? And can understanding this instinct help us break free of it? To find answers, we must journey back to humanity's dawn and witness how this all began. Picture the world tens of thousands of years ago. Survival was a daily battle against hunger, predators, and the elements. Alone, a human was vulnerable. Together, a small band could endure. In those days, your tribe was your lifeline. To belong was to live, and to be cast out was as good as a death sentence. In a world of countless dangers, trust and cooperation became sacred. Around the campfire, faces you knew meant safety. Every pair of hands added to the group's strength. Every shared meal tightened the bonds of loyalty. Our ancestors who banded together and fiercely protected one another thrived where others perished. Evolution rewarded the loyal, the cooperative, the ones who could work as a team. But that same world held other bands of humans, all competing for the same land, the same prey, the same survival. A stranger's footsteps near your camp could mean danger. A rival tribe might steal resources, spread disease, or kill. So as deeply as we learn to love our own, we learn to fear and fight those outside our circle. An unfamiliar face beyond the firelight could put a spear in your hand before you even knew why. Tribes that stood together against outsiders survived when others fell. A group that hesitated to defend itself could be wiped out, its memory lost. Over thousands of years, natural selection favored those who felt fierce loyalty to their own and suspicion toward others. The legacy of those survivors lives in us now. We are the descendants of the most cohesive, vigilant tribes. Our capacity for empathy and sacrifice evolved with sharp boundaries. We became capable of great kindness and selflessness, but mostly toward those we called us. For anyone labeled them, a different rule applied. It was easier to ignore their suffering or to take from them without remorse. This two-tiered morality, compassion for your own, indifference or cruelty for others, was not a flaw in the old world. It was a feature that helped our ancestors persist. Over time, we wrapped our tribal instincts in culture. Each tribe had its language, its rituals, its gods. Stories that told them they were the chosen people, set apart from all others. Those tales bound the group together and often cast outsiders as inferior or wicked. Perhaps the earliest myths were of heroes slaying demons from another tribe, the noble us defeating the monstrous them. Such stories gave our ancestors pride and purpose, and they helped justify the walls that grew around them. For ages, this us versus them wiring sank into our biology. Even now, your brain can make a split-second decision about a stranger before you have time to think. In less than a heartbeat, it sorts a face or voice, familiar or foreign, maybe friend or foe, a different face, a different accent, the wrong tattoo or team jersey, and some ancient circuit whispers inside. Not one of us. What once was a life-saving instinct can easily misfire as prejudice in the modern world, unless we catch it. Even our chemistry carries this bias. The same hormone that fills us with trust and love for our own can also fuel suspicion and aggression toward outsiders. Our brains light up with pleasure when our group triumphs, and churn with fear when we think they threaten us. Nature rigged us to feel a warm glow for the in-group and a chill for the out-group. A useful trick on the savannah, but a dangerous trait in a crowded world. For countless generations, this was the human condition. Tribalism kept us alive, gave us belonging, and shaped our earliest societies. It taught us to band together and gave us courage against threats. But it also locked us into endless cycles of conflict. Each tribe saw itself as the center of the world, and others as obstacles or enemies. This ancient pattern carried forward, carved deep into the human psyche as we built civilization. As the ages turned, tribes swelled into villages, villages into kingdoms, kingdoms into empires and nations. We mastered agriculture, then industry, then technology. Yet we never outgrew the urge to draw lines between our people and everyone else. We merely found new labels for the divisions and new weapons to enforce them. The spears and arrows became guns and bombs, but they were still aimed at the same target. Whoever we decided was them. History reads like a chronicle of tribalism on a grand scale. Wars of religion, wars of empire, wars of revolution, different banners, same story. One people against another, each convinced of their righteousness. We spilled blood by the river and by the millions, always certain that the fight was not only necessary, but noble. Time and again, leaders rallied their nations by invoking the old call. We are under threat. They are not like us. They must be defeated. Tribalism made it chillingly easy for good people to do terrible things. When we label others as barbarians or infidels, we strip away their face and story. They become an idea, a caricature, an enemy, not a person. And then, almost anything can be justified. In the name of tribe and God and country, we have committed horrors, burned villages, enslaved populations, massacred innocents, always with the conviction that we were doing what we had to do against them. Yet to each side, in every conflict, their cause felt just. Our heroes are their villains. Their martyrs are our monsters. The same act might be celebrated in one story and condemned in another. Tribalism warps truth as well as conscience. It allows us to live with our actions because we believe we're defending the good against the evil. It wraps hatred in the cloak of virtue. The lines of us and them cut through our societies, not just our battlefields. We drew them around color and creed, caste and class. We segregated and subjugated even our neighbors under these invented divisions. One community prospered while another languished, separated by nothing more than an invisible wall of otherness. The names of the groups changed with time and place, but the pattern stayed the same. One us holding power over a them. And even after the laws or regimes that enforced these divisions fell, their shadows linger in our prejudices and institutions. Even our pastimes echo the ancient pattern. In sports arenas, we split into rival teams, wear different colors, chant battle cries. For a few hours, it's all in good fun, a safe outlet for competitive instincts. But even there, the tribal fervor is real. The joy when our side scores and the anger when the other side triumphs. How primal it feels. We say it's just a game. Yet in those moments, we taste that old thrill of us against them. In politics, the stakes become deadly serious. Nations split themselves into factions that can barely speak to each other. Neighbors turn into enemies over a vote or an ideology. Every election becomes an existential battle against the enemy within. Compromise is betrayal. Cooperation, unthinkable. The tribal mind asserts itself so completely that people who share a country and a flag come to see each other as threats to its very survival. The internet promised to connect us, but it became a new battlefield. Online, we gather in digital tribes, each with its own news, its own truths, its own reality. We hurl words like spears across comment sections and feeds. We dehumanize with memes and drown out dissent with algorithms that feed us only what we want to hear. In virtual space, we have recreated that old campfire circle, surrounding ourselves with the comforting voices of us and shutting out all others. The technology that could unite us ends up deepening the divides, as each tribe in the cloud fortifies its own echo chamber and fear of the other. And so here we are, a modern world with ancient instincts. We navigate skyscrapers and satellites with Stone Age minds that still react to the slightest difference as a threat. The irony is bitter. We can split the atom, map the genome, reach for the stars, yet we still struggle to share the Earth with those who don't look or think like us. Our technology has evolved light years beyond the campfire, but inside we remain much the same. For the first time in our long story, tribalism has outlived its purpose. The weapons we wield today make those old blood feuds unimaginably more dangerous. A single spark of tribal hatred now could end in mushroom clouds instead of arrows. And while we bicker and compete, the planet itself suffers. Viruses spread, oceans rise, challenges that don't care about our divisions, challenges no tribe can solve alone. Global threats demand a united human response, yet our instincts keep pulling us apart when we most need to come together. Humanity stands at a precipice. The way of us versus them is wired in our brains, but it no longer serves us. If we cannot learn a new way to define who is us, we risk losing everything. Our evolution gave us this tribal reflex, but it also gave us the capacity to reflect and to choose. Now we must use that capacity as never before. The first step is deceptively simple, yet perhaps the hardest, to recognize this tribal impulse in ourselves. To admit that the call of division lives inside you and me, not just in extremists or strangers, but in the mirror as well. It takes raw honesty to see how often we slip into an us versus them mindset in daily life. A passing judgment, a defensive argument, a quiet thrill at someone's defeat because it feels like a win for your side. These are the shadows of tribalism that flicker in our own hearts. With that awareness, we gain power. When we name this impulse, we don't have to be its puppet. We can feel the anger or distrust rise up and choose not to obey it. We can ask questions instead of casting blame, offer a hand instead of a fist. In those small moments of choice, we wrest control back from our ancient programming. Awareness transforms a blind reaction into a conscious decision. It creates a pause where empathy can enter. Perhaps you feel the sting of someone's words, and your reflex is to strike back. But then a voice inside you whispers, "Wait, why did they say that? What do they feel?" In that moment, You're no longer just a tribesman following a script. You're a human being writing a new one. We can feed a different side of ourselves. All of us carry the capacity for tribal fear and also for expansive love. Think of them like two wolves fighting within. One wolf is driven by fear, anger, and the need to dominate. The other by understanding, patience, and compassion. Every time you choose to listen, to empathize, to refrain from dehumanizing someone, you are feeding the gentler wolf. Over time, that wolf grows stronger. Imagine if enough of us chose that gentler path, even in small ways. The world would begin to change. We might finally treat suffering anywhere as a concern everywhere, and an injustice to any group as a threat to us all. We could still celebrate our many cultures and identities, but without turning them into weapons. We could disagree, even passionately, without dehumanizing each other. Every inch we move in that direction is a victory over our past. No, this transformation won't happen overnight, and it may never be complete. We are still human and still fallible. But every bit of progress matters. Perhaps over generations, the old tribal reflex will fade to a whisper, a relic rather than a driving force. Our descendants might still feel the tug of us and them, but by then, they may be wise enough to ignore it. What was once an evolutionary advantage could become a footnote, as a broader sense of we carries us forward. This truth is uncomfortable, but it gives you power. The power to choose which side of yourself to nourish. Now that you see the game laid out before you, how will you play? Will you let the old reflexes rule you? Or will you walk a different path? The instincts nature gave us are strong, but so is our will once we awaken it. We did not choose our tribal wiring, but we can choose what to do with it. We cannot erase it, but we can resist it, not with force or hatred, but with understanding and deliberate action. In a world that often rewards division and aggression, choosing empathy is a quiet revolution. To look at someone and refuse to see an enemy, even when every instinct and pressure urges you to. That is a brave rebellion of the soul. But if you close your eyes to all this, if you do nothing, you will slip back into the familiar sleepwalk of tribalism. And if you fall back asleep, you know what awaits. The same life on autopilot, driven by old instincts and leading to the same old conflicts. Waking up is not a one-time epiphany. It's a choice you have to make every day. Before we part, I have a request. Go to the comments and leave one sentence. Not a reaction, not a slogan, but one brutally honest sentence. About a moment you recognized the us versus them trap in yourself. A moment when you caught yourself in that mindset and saw it for what it was. Disappear now from this screen and go live your life with eyes open. And when you're ready, come back. I'll be here as I always am, on the edge of understanding, where it all begins.